वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading our continuation of this chapter, 12th chapter entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. So as we have seen in the previous few verses, there was a sequence like what are the events that happened, how Parikshit Maharaj was created a woman, and later on there was all the zodiac sign gradually evolved, and exactly like Maharaj Pandu in prowess, Parikshit Maharaj is compared in that way. And later on in this verse, it is said, King Yudhishthira, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas headed by Raumya and Kripa recited auspicious things. So as we see in this verse, the two important personalities are mentioned, Raumya Rishi and Kripacharya. So Raumya Rishi was the priest, family priest of Pandavas, and Kripacharya was actually the priest of the Kuru dynasty. So in a way, Kripacharya was also the priest of Pandavas, but there is a background story to this. Exactly, Prabhupada explains in the purport that how Kripacharya was formed, and it is important to understand that Kripacharya, his father's name is also given. He was also a very powerful rishi who was also an expert archer, and he was very expert in the science of archery. And he was also teaching, or he was also performing various penances, and he was very much elevated, and because of that, Indra, as normally happened in the past also, Indra became very insecure, and just to disturb him, he actually sent one of the damsels from his home. Her name was Janapati, and the Rishi Sarvan, who was performing the tapasya, he was basically, in a way, he was distracted, and then he discharged his semen, and it was in two parts, and from that, actually, the two twins, basically the twins were born. One was Kripa and the Kripi. And since we understand that this Rishi, Sartaban, was also a very elevated personality, he is not a normal person, and he comes in the lineage of Gautama Rishi, and the mother of Kripa and Kripi, she was also not an ordinary personality, she is also from heaven. And immediately because of that, these two children were born. And King Shantanu, who was the father of Bhishma, he was in the forest doing the hunting, and eventually he finds these two children. And he raised them, he brought them because he was feeling compassionate for them because nobody was there. Actually, what happened, this Rishi, Sardaban, he was feeling very much guilty. He was not aware that these two children were born. But as soon as he discharged the semen, he was feeling very guilty, and again he entered in the forest. He took his bath and he entered in the forest again. Restarting his tapasya because some of this tapasya bal or the power which he has generated out of tapasya was discharged to his semen, and he was not actually aware that these two children were actually born on the spot. But he was continuing with his tapasya, and later on, because he was also not a normal personality, he came to know that there were some children born, and he again comes back to that spot and couldn't find them because he was then, because the children were taken by King Shantanu. And King Shantanu, he performed all the required purificatory processes, and he raised those both the children, Kripa and Kripi, in his kingdom. And it so happened that Kripacharya, because he was the son of a great rishi, he becomes the priest or the Purohit of Kuru dynasty. And also because his father also had this understanding of archery, he also learned that. And it is said like later on when this rishi, Sardaban, he comes to know that their children are actually in the kingdom of Shantanu. So he approaches King Shantanu, and he actually takes care of his children, and he personally teaches Kripacharya the art of archery. So it was not like the Sardaban Rishi who just abandoned them. Later on came and actually took care of his children. And he also taught them and trained them in the art of both Vedic rituals as well as their expertise in archery as well. And the other person is Domya. Before coming to Domya, we should come to this point that Kripacharya later on became one of the prominent generals in the army of Duryodhana. And he fought the battle of Kurukshetra because it was his duty as a Purohit. So the literal meaning of word Purohit is like basically somebody who is the well-wisher of the family. Parivar, the Puru word comes from that Parivar, and Hit, like somebody who is a well-wisher, Hitkarta, or somebody who is a well-wisher of that particular family, is person who is responsible for all the rituals, all the good guidance, anything related to spirituality or in general, any guidance which is required by that lineage or that dynasty or that family is given by this Purohits or like the priest of that family. So all the rituals, whether anybody who is born in that family, all the rituals, anybody who is dying in that family, all the rituals are done directly by this, under the guidance of this Purohit. He may not directly perform it, but sometimes he would perform, but there would be also assisting some brahmanas, but everything would happen under the guidance of this particular Purohit, and that was the tradition. So it was the duty of a Purohit to actually be loyal to the family to whom he is actually serving. So because of that reason also, Kripacharya, he sided Duryodhana because he was the Purohit of Kuru dynasty. And he has to abide by that. And Vishnu was also fighting from the side of Duryodhana. So that's why Kripacharya also fought from the side of Duryodhana. Interestingly, we should understand like this fighting were just not out of enmity or any marriage or like the wrong feeling. It is out of duty because Dronacharya, Bhishma, a lot of Kripacharya as well, like all these personalities, generals, they were quite affectionate towards the Pandavas. At the same time, they were on the opposite side fighting because they have a duty to also perform for the Kuru dynasty. And as we see here, Kripacharya was also involved in actually killing of Abhimanyu. If you just see, even though Abhimanyu was killed in a not in a proper way, or like even in the right conduct of the war at that point of time, but indirectly or directly, Kripacharya was also involved in killing of him. And if we see here, Yudhishthir Maharaj, just see the character of Yudhishthir Maharaj, or the person, like all these personalities who were there, present at that point of time. Dharma is something which they would keep as a high priority, or something which they would always subservient to. So even if when we see Kripacharya after the fighting is over, after the war or the war of Kurukshetra is over, the person who actually was instrumental, one of the person who was instrumental in killing the father of King Parikshit himself, is doing this Jatu Karma for the child of that particular warrior or Abhimanyu in this case. And it is so interesting that Yudhishthir Maharaj, his void-mindedness, as well as Kripacharya, he is also not holding any grudges in that way, and doing all this ritual, because now it is the duty of the Purohit again to take care and perform all the rites which belong to that particular dynasty. And now, because Yudhishthir Maharaj is the king, or like the emperor of the Kuru dynasty, it is the duty of Kripacharya to again perform this sacrifices, these rituals for the benefit of the family of Kuru dynasty. And out of duty and out of respect as well, and as his duty, as his responsibility, he's performing all these rites. And not only that, when Parikshit Maharaj was actually, he eventually becomes a king, Kripacharya is one of the council members of Parikshit Maharaj's a group of, like basically is one of the members of the council member as well. So just that we should see what is the character and how much these personalities were evolved and broad-minded that they could, when it comes to dharma, they are ready to serve or like to give that position to somebody who is killer, the father of that particular child as well. And compared to that, if we just see our present situation and a person who doesn't even, for example, if we have some disagreement with another devotee or something like that, or even just like one devotee just like not properly treated you or like said something which is not so palatable to you, and we hold grudges and we don't talk to that person, or like we have a different type of relationship with that person, and just see the void-mindedness or the high character of these personalities which are present. Of course, Yudhishthir Maharaj, and all the Pandavas, there are also devotees. But even on just the moral terms, their morals, their standards were so high, they would not hold any kind of this grudges or anything, because that was the Dharma Yuddha, that was the battle was fought because of to establish the Dharma. And all the participants in that battlefield or in that battle were also performing their own individual dharma. And it is said, of course, there were also instances, even before just the beginning of battlefield, Yudhishthir Maharaj goes and also declares that anybody still wants to change some sides, they can exchange the sides, and there is still time they can change. And it so happened that Yuyutsu, one of the brothers of Duryodhana, he changes sides to Pandava because he considered that whatever Duryodhana is siding is not proper and he is not following the Dharma. So just because he believed that this is not the proper side to fight for, and he was not obliged to fight with Duryodhana, he sided with Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Yuyutsu actually fought Pandavas against his own brother Duryodhana. Actually, he was not the son of Gandhari, he was one of the half-brother of Duryodhana, we can say. He was the son of Dhritarashtra, but his mother was one of the maidservants of Gandhari. And he fought against Duryodhana. Similarly, there were some warriors who actually were initially from the Pandava side, and they went to the Kaurava side. Not only that, Krishna, his own army, the Narayani Sena, was opposite of Krishna. And Pandavas were actually, they were bound to kill those soldiers, even though it was Krishna's own soldier from Yadu dynasty. They were fighting against Pandavas, and Krishna was on the other side. So they were all performing their obligatory duties to their dharma and to their responsibilities, and they were performing. So that's why this battlefield, this battle is not a normal battle. It is a dharma yuddha. It is fought for the right cause, and all the persons who were involved in this battlefield were also delivered because they all left their bodies in the presence of Krishna. And the next important character in this verse is Draumya Rishi. And Draumya Rishi is also very important personality. Even though we don't discuss so much, or he's not so much glorified in the normal mainstream Mahabharata, but in Vedvyasa's Mahabharata, he was mentioned many times in Mahabharata because he was not involved directly in the battle of Kurukshetra. That's why we don't hear so much about Draumya Rishi. But Draumya Rishi, actually, after the event of Lakshagriha, where all the Kauravas wanted to kill Pandavas, and they made a palace out of flag, and they tried to kill them by burning that particular palace. And eventually, all the Pandavas, they escaped from Lakshagriha, and they escaped, and there was a river. Basically, it was one of the branches of Ganga river, and they were about to take bath, but it was time of evening, and there was one Gandharva who actually appeared in front of these Pandavas, and he challenged them because after the evening, all the rivers are in control of Gandharvas. That it is said like that, and anybody who takes a bath or does anything, they have to take permission from the Gandharvas. It is said. So he challenged Yudhishthir Maharaj to have a battle, and if they defeat that particular Gandharva, they are free to take bath and do their rituals and everything. But at the same time, Arjuna was challenging like that. All this rule of taking care of all the water bodies after the evening is for the other water bodies, but this is Ganga, and for Ganga there is no as such as any rule that the Gandharva should take care of this. But because he was there and they fought the battle, and ultimately Arjuna defeated this particular Gandharva. And then he revealed his mind. Basically, he actually came there to test the prowess of Arjuna. At the same time, he wanted to give them some guidance. And this Gandharva then said that, like, now you have escaped from this Lakshagriha. There would be much more trouble. You just finished your education, and you are all not yet married yet, and you might need much more guidance eventually as you enter in Grihastha ashram, and when you are going to take care of the kingdom and everything. So you might need some more guidance. So I recommend you to go and take one of the Purohits with you. Because Kripacharya is already a Purohit of Gurus, you should also have your own pool for your Pandavas as a dynasty of Pandu. You should have your own Purohit as well. And then he recommends the name of Draumya. And that's how in Adiparv of Mahabharata, the first time there's the mention of Draumya Rishi. And Draumya Rishi was not an ordinary Rishi as well. Like, he was the one who was very powerful ascetic. He was performing various rituals and Vedic rites. And he was the brother of Devala Rishi. You always hear this Devala Rishi's name. Asita Devala Vyasa, all these great rishis. So he was the brother of Devala Rishi. So Draumya Rishi, then eventually these Pandavas, they approached Draumya Rishi, and Draumya Rishi then, seeing the Pandavas and their righteous character, he agrees to become the priest, or the family priest, or the Purohit of all the Pandavas. And he was so dedicated, and he was so loyal to Pandavas, that even during the exile, and later on when there was a match, the canto match, and Yudhishthira loses, Draumya Rishi was also there with them in the exile. We always hear that the Dronacharya was the guru of all the gurus and the Pandavas. Dronacharya taught all the archery to Arjuna. He always imposes himself as the guru of Pandavas and Kauravas both. But actually, when there was exile and other things, when there were adversities on Pandavas, Dronacharya was not there. He was guru, but he had his own agenda as well. He trained all the gurus and the Pandavas just because he had to take, as a Guru Dakshina, he wanted to take the revenge from the father of Draupadi and the Duryodhana, so Maharaj Drupad. He basically wanted to take revenge, and that's why he trained Pandavas and Kauravas. And as a Guru Dakshina, he just asked them to defeat Drupad Maharaj, and then eventually they defeats Drupad Maharaj. And it has its own story because they were classmates in Gurukul, and out of friendship, Drupad Maharaj said to Dronacharya that I will if you have or like if you need anything, just come to me. I will. We are so close friends that I will give you my half of my kingdom. And then later on, they all parted their ways because Dronacharya was Brahmana. He was performing all his Vedic rituals and other things in his hermitage, and Drupad, being a king, he started ruling his kingdom. And later on, when Dronacharya, he was actually married to this great Kripacharya's sister, Kripi. She was also a very great personality. So Dronacharya was married to Kripi, and their son was Ashwatthama. And as Dronacharya was progressing, or like as he was living in Grihastha ashram, when he was initially living as an ascetic, he would be just roaming around in the forest and would take something, fruits and different roots and other things. But as Ashwatthama was born, there was some need of making a proper place, hermitage, and to supply for the bringing of this child. So he then approaches Drupada, the king, and asks for, and he reminds him like you promised that like you will give me half of your kingdom, but actually I don't want the half of your kingdom. I just need some financial help from you so that like I can raise my child. And Drupad was actually he forgot all those things, and he was a little proud out of his because of his position and everything, and he actually didn't provide any help to Dronacharya. And in fact, he actually ridiculed him, and then he gave him names like beggar, and if you are coming here just to ask for these things, and you are saying that you are a friend, but you are also like you have your own agenda. And because of that, Dronacharya, he becomes very furious, and eventually Bhishma comes and takes Dronacharya's help to train, because Dronacharya was also expert in archery and different arts, and he wanted all the princes, all the Kaurava and the Pandava princes, to get trained in this skills. And then he takes Dronacharya, and Dronacharya eventually trains them, and then challenges Drupad Maharaj and defeats him. And then again, this revenge, like the cycle of revenge, was still continuing, because after this defeat, Drupad also performs a yajna, and out of that, Drishtadyumna, his son, was born, and the whole purpose of Drishtadyumna was to kill Dronacharya, and that was his vow, and that was the purpose of the birth of Drishtadyumna. And eventually, Drishtadyumna kills Dronacharya in the battle of Kurukshetra. But all this, like I'm telling this side story, of course, because Dronacharya, even though he was the teacher of Pandavas and he made the great Arjuna the greatest of archers, but he has his own agenda as well. He was not serving them selflessly. But Daumya Rishi, on contrast to that, is very much selfless. Even though, whether in good times or in bad times, Daumya Rishi was always there with the Pandavas. He was always giving them the good guidance. And this 12 years of exile, it is said that like Sanjay was narrating the whole thing. Sanjay was seeing all this scene how Yudhishthira Maharaj is defeated, and eventually he tells Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra asks, like, what happened after the gambling match? What's the situation? Where is Pandava? Like, where are Pandavas now? And Sanjay said, like, I've seen that Pandavas are walking, but they have different things. All the Pandavas are in different situation. Draupadi was also there, and at the beginning, the Pandavas were led by Draupadi Rishi, and Draupadi Rishi is chanting some Yama mantra, is chanting on some Yama mantra on Kushagras. And after that is Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj has covered his face. Bhima is walking behind Yudhishthira Maharaj and he's seeing his broad shoulders. And after that, Arjuna is there, and Arjuna is in Arjuna's hand. There are some sands, and he's releasing all those sands. And after that, there is Nakula and Sahadev. Nakula has covered his face completely, and Sahadev has covered his body, whole body with dust. And Draupadi is walking with all her heads loosened. And this actually made Dhritarashtra to be more curious to know why Sanjay is explaining all these things. At the same time, why all the Pandavas are having these different positions or like different situations or like they are doing different things. So then Sanjay explains, it comes in Mahabharata that like, Yudhishthira Maharaj is covering his face because if he sees anybody, he's so angry that if he sees anybody, like just by his glance, an innocent person might get killed because he's Yamaraj himself, and he's so humiliated and he's out. They are going out of the kingdom. They are the king, and Draupadi, along with Draupadi, basically they were all humiliated in this sabha, and they are going out. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is so angry, so that's why he's just covering his face, so that like he should not give his anger or like give his rage to somebody who is not so. And then Bhima is seeing his shoulders, broad shoulders, because he's contemplating like how I'm going to take the revenge from this Kauravas. And then Arjuna is releasing the sand because he's thinking that I'm going to crush all the Kauravas army and I will shoot as many arrows just like the grains of the sand. Nakula has covered his face because he was so humiliated, like he doesn't want to face any of his citizens. And Sahadev, even though he was in that situation because they were not properly dressed because they were in the dress of a hermit, but still he was looking so beautiful, like he didn't want to attract anybody else in that situation, so he was covering his whole body with the dust. And Draupadi, because she has been grabbed by her hair, and she has taken a vow that like she will not dye her hair unless and until the revenge was taken. So that's why her hair was loosened. And in front, Dhamma Rishi is actually chanting. The Dhamma Rishi was again mentioned, and actually he was chanting this mantra for the protection of Pandavas, and he's heading that. Basically, he's the one who is guiding light for all the Pandavas in next 12 years as well. And Dhamma Rishi was so amusing person. Like he was always there to guide Yudhishthira Maharaj, and was never so much glorified. But he was the one who always gave good advice to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So during exile as well, it was Dhamma Rishi who gave advice to Yudhishthira Maharaj to perform rituals for Surya Dev, so that like he gets all his supplies during the exile period, and he doesn't have to make any separate arrangements for food and other things. So on the advice of Dhamma Rishi, Yudhishthira Maharaj performed the sacrifice for Surya Dev, and in return he got the Akshay Patra, or the vessel which can produce the food, and the Draupadi takes food. And that's how they survived all the 12 years of exile as well. And later on, the last year of exile was the Agyatwas, where they have to be in incognito. So only in that period, because if Daumya Rishi was there, it was easier for the Kauravas to find them because it was not because Daumya Rishi doesn't have to go in incognito. So only during that 1 year, Daumya Rishi was not with Pandavas, but always he was there. And even after the battle of Kurukshetra, all the rituals, all the final rites of all the Pandavas and his family members, that was performed by Daumya Rishi. And now, in this verse, even for his great grandchildren or like even for great grandchildren, Daumya Rishi was the one who performed all the sacrifices, all the rituals for them. And Kripacharya, Daumya Rishi, because Kripacharya was also the Purohit, and Daumya Rishi was a Purohit of Pandavas, when it came the right time, Daumya Rishi basically, he stepped down, not exactly like stepping down from his responsibility, but for the position of the Purohit of Kuru dynasty. He continued to give credit to Kripacharya as a Purohit of the Kaurava dynasty, but he didn't say that like I am the Purohit of Yudhishthira Maharaj, so I should be declared as the Raj Purohit of this particular dynasty. And that's the great character of Daumya Rishi as well. And that is what it is described here, Kripacharya and Daumya performing this particular rites for Parikshit Maharaj. So this is the wonderful characters or the broad-mindedness of these personalities mentioned here in this verse. And Kripacharya, he continued to guide Parikshit Maharaj, and Kripacharya is one of the Chiranjeevis who lives eternally. So, like Ashwatthama, Ved Vyas, Hanumanji, Kripacharya is also one of the Vibhishan. There are different Chiranjeevis who will live till the end of Kali Yuga. Even Markandeya Rishi is also there. So these are the different personalities who are going to stay. And currently, after Yudhishthira Maharaj departed to Himalayas and he retired from his life, Kripacharya also, after performing all his duties, he also went in the jungle in his surrenders. So with this, I am the class here this time. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions and comments, please let me know. Vilanam Prabhu, you have any questions? Yes.
It is still working here. So the Mahabharata was there to attract the attention of lower class people, women, children. So there's a plot, a big plot, and there's so many characters and intrigues to attract your attention. So when you have the attention of the audience, then you can be injected with some higher philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So it is an expert way to grab people's attention.
Thank you so much. Has compiled so interestingly, like every character has a history and and it's a long story, like 10 lakh verses. So it's a long, like 10 lakh verses in that. So yeah, online, any questions and comments?
Saraswati Mataji is there. Go ahead, Saraswati Mataji.
Pronouns to all the Vaishnavas. I like how you brought up the points of how broad-minded certain characters in the Mahabharata were. Of course, there is a saying, all is fair in love and war. So we did see that a lot of rules were broken during Kurukshetra war. And we also appreciate that a lot of these characters, they were wasn't all black and white, a lot of gray areas. And one way in which we can say Dronacharya really was liberally minded was the fact that he trained Dhristadyumna, and he was fully aware that this is the person I'm arming to kill. So, that shows how generous he was in one sense. And I'm also thinking of one character that resented being tricked into fighting for the Kauravs, Mother Naresh, who was the mama of Nakul and Sahadev. And he kept that grudge because he became the charioteer of Karan, and all he kept doing was trying to bring Karan down with his sarcasm. And so there is a character who didn't really care so much about fulfilling his duty. He just resented that he was put into that difficult position. But I'm also thinking that Drupad Maharaj, he so much venom and animosity he carried, because not only did he carry out the yajna that produced Drishtadyumna, but even Shikandi. He had all these people that had this vendetta, in Shikandi's case, for so many births. So that just sort of shows his mentality, although he's the father of great Draupadi. But I sort of recall how he was not respectful to the Brahmanas, which Krishna always say, even demonstrated himself how to treat the Brahmana class with respect, and which so Drupad definitely didn't do that with Dronacharya. I mean, even the great demon Jarasan, when Bhima and Arjuna, they went, dressed as Brahmanas, they were welcomed and respected. So this was definitely missing in Drupad's rulership. Thank you for such a great class. Hare Krishna.
Any more questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Anantacharya Prabhu. Nice class, and thanks for nice comments about Saraswati Mataji also. Yeah, this to them now killed Dronacharya, fine, but Draupadi was also the Pandava side, and so much war was going on. Anyway, thank you, Saraswati Mataji, for that comment. And coming to the how come Kripacharya survived in the Mahabharata? Interesting. In spite of he was involved in killing of Abhimanyu, we are talking. How come Arjuna left him alone? Any comments?
Yeah. I mean, he survived. Like even for example, Ashwatthama also survived. So it's not. I mean, even though after even the wife killed of Rishabhdev, Ashwatthama also killed the 5 sons of Pandavas and eventually got given by Draupadi. And even after that, like he wanted to kill Parikshit Maharaj as well. So this character will still survive. And yeah, I mean, in terms of basically the war was over. So after that, after the killing of Duryodhana and the time. So apart from Kripacharya, there were also Ashwatthama, I mentioned about Juyutsu also survived. Kritavarma also survived, I guess. Kritavarma actually he fought against Pandavas. Kritavarma was actually from the Yadu dynasty, from the Bhoja clan, Rishi Bhoja clan from that. So there were also other fighters who survived along with the 5 Pandavas. And I think even the son of Karna was there. So when Yudhishthir Maharaj became the emperor, he actually made them the king of different regions as well. Yudhishthir Maharaj was the emperor, and these kings who survived, they also were made the kings of small regions to take care of their subjects. So it was, like I said, it was about Dharma, establishing the Dharma. So once that is done, all the parties are they rule together.
Coming to the age of, always I would wonder, no, Kripacharya must be older as Bhishma Pitamaha, because Shantanu was taking care of him, let's say, isn't it? And Dharmaraj has gone to Himalayas in his old age, we talk, but Kripacharya still remains interesting, and he such an old person, but still continuing.
Yeah. I mean, for your first comment, I'm not sure about whether he was older than Vishnu or not, but there could be a possibility. But since it is said they are one of the Chiranjeevis, so that's why they are still living, and they will live till the end of Kali Yuga, like the other Chiranjeevis. So they have that power of the blessings. And again, another fact was that because he was not directly born for somebody from this world, his mother is from the celestial planet. So that could be another reasons.
Yeah, same as Bhishma Pitama. You are right.
And same goes with, I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of possibility of Vashukrama, because his mother is Kripi, whose mother is again the same personality, who had this womb. I mean, she's also celestial in a way, the grandmother of Guru. So that might have just also passed on Vashukrama as well. I'm not sure about it, but yeah, this could be like they are in a way related. So that could be possible.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. Logically, sounds good. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very nice class and discussion. And I kind of like about the gray area. I'd like to ask a question because like Kripacharya was performing those auspicious rituals to stop the samsara, but that was after the war, right? So, but I wonder during the war, of course, during the war there's no time for those auspicious things. There's a battle, right? The shouting, the killing, and commands of generals, of attacking this and this. So there's no, but the births happen like for the gray of people, or the children are born during that time. So those events or the commands or noises, do they affect the children who are born during the battle, the war?
I mean, could be possible, but at the same time, if we see, I mean, there were not like completely no rituals, because it is also like Brahmans also mentioned to perform the final rites as well. So those who got killed in Pandava's family, Brahma Rishi was the one who was performing all the final rites as well. So the rites were also going on, and the battle was only for 18 days, I can say. And even during the war, like after the sunset, there were no actual fighting, and they were also not. It is also like that. Like during the day they would fight, but in the night they would be like visiting each other's camp as well, or like they would be taking food together. So they would be fighting out of their duty, but in the night they're performing all the rituals. But yeah, I mean, it could be a possibility. So 18 days doesn't make like any much of difference. So even though some rituals might not have been performed during the 18 days, I think that could have been performed after that, like 18, 20 days.
Okay, what you mean that there was still performing rituals, and maybe but wouldn't affect the children born during the war. They wouldn't have that purity maybe as during the peace times where they are born.
Yeah,
I understand.
But at the same time, like this kind of war, it's not like the modern day war where people attack like each other.
Yeah, and that's
like the country, like the whole country. They would go to a specific place. That's why like all these soldiers, they went to Kurukshetra. They assembled there and they fought just there. Like they would not kill any other innocent people or like people in Chandra. So all the ladies and children and all of the other citizens, they were still in their own kingdom, performing their duties properly, and everything was happening. So that they should not be affected or affected.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Fine. Right.
Thank you for your comments and suggestions. Thank you. Srimad Bhagwatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.